أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي اشدد به أزري واشركه في أمري كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. O Lord, show us the good as good and help us to follow it, and show us falsehood as falsehood and help us to stay away from it with your mercy, O merciful one. Amin. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Amin. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Happy Saturday. Inshallah everyone is doing wonderful. We will continue on our studies of the understanding of the Quranic verse, for us God suffices and He's the best disposer of affairs, which goes as Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil. And we need to pick up from the second point. So we are reading from page 92 of the fourth ray. Second point. Sufficient for my immortality is God, for He is my eternal God and my eternal creator, the eternal giver of my existence, my eternal maker, my eternal owner, my eternal witness, the eternal true object of my worship, my eternal resurrector. There is therefore no harm in the disappearance of my being. There should be no sorrow, regret, or grief. There is therefore no harm in the disappearance of my being. There should be no sorrow, regret, or grief. For the giver of my existence is enduring, and His creation through His names is also enduring. The attributes of my person are nothing but the rays of one of His names. The attributes of my person are nothing but the rays of one of His names. They exist permanently in their Creator's knowledge and within His view, and do not therefore cease to exist on their passing and disappearance. They exist permanently in their Creator's knowledge and within His view. So the attributes of my person exist permanently in their Creator's knowledge and within His view, and do not therefore cease to exist on their passing and disappearance. And do not therefore cease to exist on their passing and disappearance. Likewise, sufficient for me in respect of immortality and the pleasure of it are my knowledge, understanding, my consciousness, and belief that the rays in my being of an enduring name of my God are enduring. And that the reality of my being is nothing other than a shadow of that name. The reality of my being is nothing other than a shadow of that name. And that through the mystery of its reflection or image in the mirror of my being, my reality is not itself lovable, but lovable on account of the immortality of the various enduring things reflected in it. I'll reread this one more time. Second point, sufficient for my immortality is God, for he is my eternal God and my eternal creator, the eternal giver of my existence, my eternal maker, my eternal owner, my eternal witness, the eternal true object of my worship, the eternal true object of my worship, my eternal resurrector. Excuse me for a moment, please. Sorry about that. There is therefore no harm in the disappearance of my being. There should be no sorrow, regret, or grief. For the giver of my existence is enduring, and his creation through his names is also enduring. The attributes of my person are nothing but the rays of one of his names. They exist permanently in their creator's knowledge and within his view, and do not therefore cease to exist on their passing and disappearance. Likewise, sufficient for me in respect of immortality and the pleasure of it are my knowledge, understanding, my consciousness, and belief that the rays in my being of an enduring name of my God are enduring, and that the reality of my being is nothing other than a shadow of that name, and that through the mystery of its reflection or image in the mirror of my being, my reality is not itself lovable, but lovable on account of the immortality of the various enduring things reflected in it. Okay, so that is the end to the second point. I'm just going to check in to see if anyone has any comments to make here this far. Okay. So pretty much connecting this to, for us, God suffices. He's the best disposer of affairs. Keyword affairs. There's always some sort of affair that we're dealing with. And then the question becomes, how am I going on handling any of my affairs? What am I trusting? What am I putting my hopes and expectations into? So, I mean, nothing of this universe really satisfies me. Relationships are transient. I'm talking about worldly relationship with people, if in and of itself. Only if I can connect the meaningful aspect of these relationships to an absolute source can my relationships be enduring. Otherwise, it's pain, torture, and suffocation, because I'll die, they'll die, he'll die, she'll die, you'll die, we all will die. And we, what satisfies me at the end of the day. So it's interesting the way it starts off, sufficient for my immortality is God. because I need a sufficient one. I need, first of all, for my existence to continue on, to be eternal. I do not want to die and perish away. So it's interesting how the second point is starting off by saying that sufficient for my immortality is God, and now it's defining who this God that we conclude to be the creator of the universe, the source of our existence. What is this God, right? For he is my eternal God. Definitely I need something eternal. This universe not at all satisfies me. I need my eternal God, my eternal creator, the eternal giver of my existence. This is everything that I experience here. My eternal maker, my eternal owner. That's a tough one, the owner part as well, because most of the time I think that I'm owning things, relationships, of my affairs, but that's not it. My eternal witness. Okay, nothing pops in right now about my eternal witness. The eternal true object of my worship. What am I worshiping at the end of the day? My eternal resurrector, the one that should satisfy all my hopes and expectations. So there is therefore no harm in the disappearance of my being. There should be no sorrow, regret, or grief. Yeah, I was thinking about death lately, speaking to a few people about death. And yeah, I mean, I think we all know the reality of this universe, but what causes anxiety is not knowing the real picture of what my existence point to. And first and foremost, I'm very much guilty of that aspect on my end. And so what the author here is helping us do is that if I can be honest with myself and truly connect my existence to an eternal resurrector, then death shouldn't scare me. Death of people around me shouldn't scare me. And really, when we think about our existence as well, it may seem like, oh, a short time span. It almost seems sometimes like I don't have much time to get things done, even like the basic stuff in life. People say, oh, yeah, work hard at school, get a good job, get married, you have kids and everything. And sometimes like, is this it? It just flies by with the blink of an eye. So, I think we need all to connect all these experiences to an eternal true object of worship. Otherwise, it's it's just an aloof type of journey here. So for the giver of my existence is enduring, and his creation through his names is also enduring. So because my nature, the human nature, requires things to be not transient, the human nature requires things to last. The human nature requires some sort of permanence. Actually, the human nature does require permanence in all its affairs and transactions. So that permanence or a feeling of satisfaction can only be achieved when I connect my existence to an eternal one. And so when I look at my persona as far as all the human qualities that we are endowed with, then they point to something not of the nature of this universe. And so we may experience a feeling of compassion and love, especially little children. They're so lovable, friendly, and they're so innocent that you just want to be with them. Like, you don't want to be with the adults because adults most of the time we get so corrupted, our minds are so, there's a lot going on that you really want to be with pure-hearted people, and little children are a great manifestation of that. So then when you really reflect on these qualities, things are employed to convey or let me know the source of existence of these qualities, and therefore once I know the real source of anything, then the passing and disappearance of anything shouldn't really leave me in despair. And so likewise, sufficient for me in respect of mortality and the pleasure of it are my knowledge, my understanding, consciousness, and belief that the rays in my being of an enduring name of my God are enduring, and that the reality of my being is nothing other than a shadow of that name. So pretty much, I think we all start with our existence, all the experiences that we go through, our likes and dislikes point to something. They just don't happen to be in existence haphazardly. That's what form the human being, all our feelings. And so I think reading our feelings, what we are in need of, we get to realize that we all long for something enduring and permanent, and that's how our existence becomes more joyful, when we are able to see beyond the apparent causes, when we are able to see beyond the things themselves, because everything is manifesting qualities. But when I'm able to view things as coming from a source not of the nature of this universe, then I attach my being to that source. And so even in my loneliness of experiencing transience, there's some sort of flight about loving my existence, because only through my experiences do I get to know of an existence giver. Okay, so that's really some takeaways from the second point, but I'll open up the floor to everybody else up here. Feel free to raise your hand if there's anything you want to say, or a comment or question, or something you feel like we should go over. Let us know. Ali Murmur, go ahead, please.
Thank you. This phrase in the first paragraph of the second point, towards the end, the attributes of my person are nothing but the rays of one of his names. That sentence attracted my attention. If I realize that the attributes of my person, all the attributes, the qualities, what I see in my person, I thought of it as including my senses as well. Of course, I should never forget I have the free will. I can distort this senses and not let them reflect, but turn it into opposites. That is another subject which is complicated. Maybe it needs a special study that I can do that. But in my physical being, in my feelings, all the attributes I see, I must understand that they cannot come into existence by themselves. Definitely, they are the reflections of the qualities of my creator, whoever gave me the existence. So as long as I have the attributes in my existence, it means there I am a mirror, and the attributes of my creator is manifesting in me within the capacity of my mirror. Not exactly the same, but manifesting, not essentially the same, and capacity-wise is the same, but manifesting within the limits of my mirror of existence, my existence. So, in fact, if I really seriously think about it, which is very interesting, that we have to do that, all the attributes in my being is nothing but the rays manifested in my being, manifested rays of the attributes of my creator within the capacity of my being. This is very interesting. It means this understanding, if I realize this, it keeps my existence directly connected to my creator, and I can understand that my existence is connected to my creator. If my creator is, as the text keeps repeating the same word, eternal one, it means my existence belongs to the eternal one. So I can assure that my attributes will exist permanently in the following sentence in their creator's knowledge and within his view. It means my existence belongs, attached to it. I shouldn't worry even if I lose my physical existence, but attributes of my existence remain with the attributes of the creator, or within the knowledge of the attributes of my creator. This connection makes me feel comfortable that whatever happens to my side, my physical side, the attributes will remain permanently. That needs working on it for me, but it is a very interesting approach or understanding of one's existence. Thus, I wanted to share my reflections on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Ali. That was a good refresher indeed. We always keep emphasizing on how the human being consists of not only the body, but more so of the other aspect, the human side, the heart, intellect, and combined with all human faculties. So losing something here physically at a physical level doesn't mean that that's it. I'm gone or the thing is gone. Rather, it's really my worldview about my existence that helps me see things beyond the physical aspect of it. So with this type of worldview, then I would know that my body consists of this universe, the material form, but the other aspect of my existence, the human side, is not of the nature of this universe or my body. And even if we take a step and think about it deeply, how do we define ourselves would be the biggest question. Because then we think about, like, wait a minute, who's speaking when I'm speaking? What is speaking when I'm speaking? What is seeing when I'm seeing? What is hearing when I'm hearing. So that's, it almost seems that which is seeing or that which is hearing when I'm speaking or hearing is not of the nature of this universe, and yet I experience it here. Okay. Thank you again. Any other comments or thoughts from anybody? Okay, so in this case, we can move on with Ali Marmar's comment. Go ahead, please.
Of course, you said something very interesting. Who is speaking when I speak? Who is seeing when I see? In fact, it is an interesting question, or it is an interesting subject to reflect on. I have to understand that, let's come back to the mirror example. When the mirror reflects the light, the mirror, if we assume that mirror has a consciousness, and the way we ask, let's speak of it into metaphorical terms. Mirror says, who is reflecting when I reflect? Now, it is it may be I don't know, someone may call it a philosophical subject, but I don't think it is a philosophy. It means just speculations. But try to understand this reality that when mirror reflects the light, yes, the light is not from the mirror, but it is reflecting it. Of course, the sunlight is an example. Sunlight is reflecting in the mirror. The real source of the light is the sunlight, but the reflection of the light in the mirror, I must be aware that this is the capacity of the mirror reflecting the sunlight. Although the origin of it is the sun, but let's assume that the mirror is dirty. How the perfect light of the sun reflects through the mirror, dimmed. Now we have to understand that human beings have the free will. We can dirty our mirror. We can even blacken our mirror to the extreme point. Rarely though, but it is possible. So when I blacken my mirror, what happens? No light reflects. But it doesn't mean that light is not coming and heating my mirror. It is heating my mirror. It is there. But I am not letting this light reflect as it is in its original form, original capacity. So when it comes to human beings, we have to be very careful when we use the language of, let's say, when I see who is seeing. Yes, correct. My creator's attribute, my creator's name is seeing it, all right. But the way I see, I reflect this reflection of the all seeing God's attribute here, I may distort it. I may even block it completely because of my free will. In the example of the mirror, if we assume that as an analogy, mirror has the free will to cover itself, with blacken it, then still God's, the Creator's attribute of seeing is there, but it is not seen as it is. It is not acting or reflecting through the mirror
Your voice is muted. I don't know if it's just me. If someone can confirm.
my internet connection is not stable. So how is now? Do you hear me?
Yes, we do hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So when we say this has been discussed by the scholars earlier on, centuries ago, it is a matter of dispute actually. When I see who is seeing it, not the way that you mentioned. I'm going back to the dispute of the scholars in the past. What is up on me, or what is my responsibility? So when I, for example, deny the reality, is it God who denies the reality? No. The result of the reflection through the mirror is the choice of the mirror. In fact, God reflects his qualities and enables the mirror of human being here, enables the human being to reflect it as it is, but I may block it. The author of this book gives an example. For example, it says, you are a farmer, and there is an ark carrying water, and through this ark, water is coming into your garden. When you let the ark run the water through the ark into the garden, all the plants, greeneries, grow. Did you grow it? No. Did you grow it? No. But at the same time, the creator of the water has grown it. Now, if the farmer blocks the ark, water doesn't come into the garden. All the plants either don't grow or die. So, is it God killing the plants? No. Human beings are not letting God's order to function. The human beings are not letting the order of God or the way God creates function. So the result of death, although it is created by the creator of the whole order of the universe, but I am the one who is the murderer of the plants. So we cannot say that God killed the plants. No, he created according to my choice, following my choice, because he gives my choice, gives priority to my choice, but the result is created by God as a result of my choice, as a response to my choice. So we have to understand that whatever we do good, it means whenever we obey the order of the universe, which is the will of the creator, whenever we obey the will of the creator Creator's attributes manifest through my mirror. And the result belongs to the Creator, and also result is given existence by the Creator of the whole order of the universe. But if I block it, responsibility of death of the plants remains on me, although the dead garden is created by God. So we have to be careful while we are thinking of the reflections of God's attributes through us. We are the filters, if you like. So the responsibility remains on the filter, not the creator. In negative senses, killing the garden. In positive senses, I don't get the responsibility because just I let the order of the universe function as it is created by its creator. Everything belongs to God. This solves the problem of the verse which says, whatever you do good, it is directly from your creator. Whatever you do bad, it means blackening your mirror or dirtying your mirror, and the result of reflection through the dirty mirror is your responsibility. Although the result is created by God, but the responsibility remains on you. So if I am not happy with what is created, I am responsible for my sadness. If I am happy with what is created, God is responsible, the creator plus responsible for my happiness. So I have to thank God whenever I am happy. I have to blame myself whenever I am sad. That is a great subject to realize. So it really puts me in the focus of responsibility, where I am expected to be thankful to God, where I should blame myself. Thank you. It is a very interesting subject that the scholars discussed in the past in great details.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Ali. This was interesting point to bring up. I'm just thinking about the latter part you mentioned in terms of when I'm happy, that's I'm just being truth and genuine to my human nature. And so I should be thanking my Lord and source of existence for that. But when I'm sad, then rather than blaming others or something else, I always need to check in myself, and I'll realize that I'm at fault. And so like you said, I need to blame myself. And so I think that's a good checking point to recognize where I went wrong and utilize that opportunity to clean my mirror, do my job, do my responsibility, so I can then stay consistent and be happy, inshallah. Thank you for bringing that one up. Any other comments from anybody? All right. Although it's a really tough one with the latter part, blaming oneself, it's nobody wants to blame themselves. Or sometimes I think there can also be extremes in blaming yourself. So I think that goes more into the psychological aspect of things, where I think modern psychology also teaches us, don't be hard on yourself, right? But I think as long as you identify the error so you can rectify things is key here. All right, inshallah, is everybody good with this whole thing? When I'm happy, I should thank my Lord. When I'm sad, I should blame myself. Alrighty, if anyone has any more practical example to make us understand this, feel free to share out. If not, then let's continue on. Okay, so we have the third point. Again, those of you who joined us in, we are on page 92 of the race, and we are reading the third point. For us, God suffices, and He's the best disposer of affairs. Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel. For He is the necessary existent, and these transitory beings are nothing other than places reflecting the renewal of the manifestations of His existence and giving of existence. This is interesting. And these transitory beings are nothing other than places reflecting the renewal of the manifestations of His existence and giving of existence. Through Him and through being connected to Him and through knowledge of Him are endless lights of existence. While without Him, there are the endless darkness of non-existence and the limitless pains of separation. These transitory beings are mere mirrors, and with the changing of their relative determinations, they are renewed in 6 aspects of their transience, disappearance, and permanence. Let me reread this again. So it's interesting how this third point starts us off with what should I rely on, and this part about the transitory beings are nothing, but they're just places reflecting the renewal of the manifestation of its existence. It's very practical. It's, I think, because we're very dynamic beings, sometimes we are in different places at a given moment. And let's say if you're at school, 1 hour each subject. Period 1, you have ELA. Period 2, for example, you have math. Period 3, you have social studies. So you keep going into different places, but let's say you do enjoy social studies, you do enjoy math. And so qualities are constantly being renewed. And so it really makes you realize that things are just reflecting the manifestation of the one that gives existence. So interesting. So you may have some friends in your period 1 class, and you may have some other friends in your period 2 class, and you keep going from period 1 and period 2 every day, but things are just a place of manifestation of the qualities of the Creator. Okay, so through Him and through being connected to Him, yeah, I think that's key here. Only by knowing that these are brought to me by the source of my existence, then I'll feel happy and content. Otherwise, if I'm not connected with the source of my existence, meaning I'm really just lost in period 1 to period 2 and just like interacting with my friends without recognizing who's providing the setup, then everything will just be like limitless pain for me of separation. So these transitory beings are mere mirrors, So everything is a mirror because they're reflecting qualities that I see around me, that I see within me. And with the changing of their relative determinations, what does that mean? With the changing of their relative determinations, the beings are changing, perhaps. Yeah, like at one moment I may be super nice to someone, at the next moment I may be a little mean. So maybe because human beings are dynamic beings, they are renewed in 6 aspects in their transience, disappearance, and permanence. Yeah, that makes sense. So even though we may have a pet and we're like, oh, like he's so nice to me today, look at that. Yeah, usually it nods its tail or whatever when it's happy with the provision we're giving. But then maybe the other day it's like, oh, I don't know why it's biting me. Does it want to come on my little finger? So everything, every created thing is dynamic, and that's what makes us human beings. But the important thing is really for us to recognize where we are erring, and so we can, inshallah, fix ourselves. All right. So let's read up. They're renewed in 6 aspects in their transience, disappearance. Yeah, everything is transient. Things are disappearing. And permanence? I'm not sure what that means. Well, I guess we can figure out. The first. The permanent existence of their beautiful meanings and identities in the world of similitudes. Let me see. I'm not. Things are renewed in 6 aspects. So, as being the permanent existence of their beautiful meanings and identities in the world of similitudes. So, everything carries meaning, and this meaning points to something, or this meaning is coming from something permanent. Okay. The second, the permanent existence of their forms in the tablets of the world of similitudes. Oh, these technical stuff from Nursi, but it's interesting. We should really make sense of it. Like I'm just reading out loud and sharing some thoughts. But if anything occurs to anyone, feel free to share out. The third, the permanent existence of the results and fruits which look to the hereafter. Oh, okay. So pretty much we can take off an event, any event. Let's say we're interacting with a bird, or we're interacting with hot chocolate. So the hot chocolate disappeared. Yeah, it did disappear. It was transient. Definitely not permanent. So I'm thinking of the permanent aspect, but that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the permanent aspect of things. That hot chocolate would disappear and it's transient, but I need its permanence, right? So the author is helping us how these, there are 6 aspects to things. So definitely the meaning points to something. The meaning, like it's carrying to me. First, the second. Well, I see a hand up, so let's hear from Sohail. Go ahead, please.
Assalamu alaikum. I always wondered about, or world of similitudes, because he brings it up in other places, and the Quran doesn't really mention world of similitudes, but it does mention things as being examples, which is, I think, where, scholars have gotten that sort of phrase from, things being examples, or like metaphors, like method. And to me, that's sort of what I think he means by world of similitudes, and that things have a sort of metaphorical representation. For example, they have a meaning, and they have a reality that even in their sort of transient existence, they look to an entity or a being in which those things are preserved. In, like, for example, an artist, there isn't the art, but from the perspective of the artist, that artist has that painting within their sort of own capacity. So there's a permanent existence there. Maybe the art's transient. Maybe the art decays over time, or is burned or destroyed for some reason, but it's always preserved with the artist eternally, so to speak. what the painting means, the actual painting itself in its form. So in this regard, things are transient. They disappear because they are transient, but in that transience and disappearance, they have a permanence. Their essential nature looks to something else. And then, as he says in the third, the results and fruits which look to the hereafter. For example, I can look at that painting and I can appreciate it and evoke some sort of emotion from it or thoughts, even long after the painting is gone. And those like thoughts or emotions or how I felt have sort of an eternal aspect to them, because the painting doesn't ever leave, essentially, me or what it means and how it impacted me, the result of that painting. That looks to the hereafter. And I think one of the most important aspects of man is his memory, and memory sort of looks to the world of similitudes and the permanent results, because the memory is sort of, it's almost like in a sense like an eternal recorder of things, past, present, and potentially the future as well. I guess he says in the fourth, well, I guess you're going to keep reading, but I guess in several respects, the painting has multiple existences or multiple aspects to it. It has a form, it has a meaning, it has a result because it has a relationship with another being or myself. And itself does something by making known the painter. That's another aspect of it when he goes into talks about the fourth. That's like a sort of glorification. And that painter has knowledge of that painting and permanence within the painter's knowledge. So, so that's what I think he means by world of similitudes, in that things are metaphors. They represent something beyond themselves. So, because I was always confused by world of similitudes. Like when I used to hear, like, is this a place or something? But it's, at least from my understanding, it's talking about, to me, how things relate to me and relate back to their author or their painter. And what sort of reality do they have beyond this sort of transient existence things have right now?
Thank you. That was very helpful, looking at things from different aspects. So in the example of the hot chocolate, definitely it has a form, it has a meaningful aspect, it's pointing to its maker, and everything is happening right here and then. So yeah, that helped out a little bit. And let's see what Ali Marmar has to say. Thank you for that.
In addition to what Suhail said, everything is preserved with its author. And for example, I don't know anything about physics, but there are some rules that say the order has some principles. These principles are permanent, for example. But these principles are permanent, but not by themselves. The establisher, the one who set up the order, it is his principle of creating. For example, let's say water is frozen at a certain degree of heat. And when the degree of heat changes, the water, the frozen water or the frozen pieces dilute. So there is no frozen piece anymore. But it doesn't mean that the principles, the tablet, whatever you call it, or the text calls it tablet and forms, doesn't disappear. The principles of freezing is there, but we don't see it. When the conditions, according to the order of the universe, occurs again, we can easily see that the principle of the order which freezes the water under certain circumstances, then the water gets frozen again. It doesn't disappear. As far as the establisher of the order of the universe is concerned, the things never go into non-existence. Even they may disappear, as it is so when you see that the days are disappearing, seasons are disappearing, years are disappearing, going into, we call them past. So going into past, but in fact, they are returning and remaining within the capacity of their creator. Nothing goes into non-existence. Although something may disappear from our eyes, but nothing go into non-existence. I think this all the first, second, third, what are they? Transience, disappearance, then 6 aspects of the transience. If you look at it from different perspectives, if you look at the meaning doesn't disappear, remained with the mind, in the mind of the author. So forms remain in the whole setting of the one who set up the order of the universe. The results still remain with the author to be returned back. For example, when I learn something, it is in my mind now, or it is within my ability to do things because I learned that. What I do, I practice it later on. So the universe is also created in order to put into practice the results of this universe, need to be put into practice later on. That is hereafter. It means next creation will be done according to the capacity of our trained forms, our trained beings. Now, however I am educated, I have educated myself. But everything is preserved. I should really, I feel that we should read this text, all these aspects of the transience, in order to understand that nothing is really going into non-existence. That makes sense. When I compare it with existence and non-existence, I cannot imagine that disappearance of the, for example, the frozen piece, frozen water, may melt and a frozen form of water has disappeared. But it doesn't mean that the form, the tablet, the pattern of freezing disappeared. No, this is just the same water. If the conditions come back within the order of this universe, the same water again freezes, becomes an ice. Again, it doesn't disappear. That is the physical evidence of nothing going into non-existence. That's what I understood from this aspects of transience.
Thank you. Yeah, good point in terms of things may disappear in front of our eyes or from our observation, but it doesn't mean that it's gone into non-existence, because we are given the faculty of memory as well. And so how do I explain that? It's definitely there must be something in existence for me to be able to communicate with wherever memories take us into. And I feel that the fourth point pinpoints on that as well. So the fourth, the permanent existence of their dominical glorifications represented in the preserved tablet, which is a sort of existence. I don't know, to me, this seems to be pointing to one's memory. And definitely does have some sort of existence. So how can I claim that things are going into non-existence then? It's interesting. Well, these are things perhaps we can a little bit reflect further and discuss next week. I know we are at time, it's 4:05, and I want to respect that for everybody. So we can stop here, inshallah, for today. And next Saturday, we will proceed from the 5th and the 6th aspects of how things are renewed in their transience, disappearance, and permanence. So thank you all for your contributions, comments. It was super helpful. Inshallah, we will see you all next time. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Glory be unto you. We have no knowledge save except that which you've taught us. Indeed, you are all knowledgeable, all wise. Wa akhiru da'wahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.